Okay, if you're in social work, you know that research papers can be an absolute goldmine of information. But let's be real, they often come with a catch, a ton of statistics. So today, we're going to demystify two of the biggest tools you'll see, correlation and regression, so you can turn all that data into real-world impact. You know the feeling, right? You're reading a study that could genuinely change how you approach your work, but it is just dense with numbers and jargon. It can feel like a barrier. So the big question is, how do we actually bridge that gap? How do we translate this complicated-looking data into decisions that actually help people? And that's exactly what this is all about. Look, our own experiences, our gut feelings on the ground, they're incredibly powerful, but they can also have blind spots. So we're going to frame these statistical tools not as some kind of hurdle, but as your own personal toolkit for seeing the bigger picture, for moving from individual stories to powerful, data-driven insights. All right, let's grab our first tool from the toolkit, correlation. Honestly, just think of this as your pattern finder. It's the tool that helps us see how different things in a person's life or in a community might be connected. You know, how they move together, either in sync or in completely opposite directions. Yeah, the official definition sounds a little bit academic, doesn't it? But the idea is actually super simple. Correlation just tells us if two things tend to change together. When one thing goes up or down, what does the other one do? And how strong is that connection? That's it. The key number here is something called the correlation coefficient, and you'll usually see it written as a little r. It's just a simple scale that goes from -1 to +1. So if r is a positive number, it means as one thing goes up, the other tends to go up too. If it's negative, they move in opposite directions. And if it's somewhere around 0, well, that's a pretty good sign there's no real relationship between them at all. Let's make this totally real. A researcher might ask a question just like this one, and by using correlation, they might find a negative relationship. What does that mean? It means that as social support increases, the severity of depression symptoms tends to decrease. See how that one little number starts to tell a really powerful story? And now we've arrived at the golden rule of statistics. Seriously, if you remember one thing, make it this. Correlation is not causation. Just because two things are related doesn't mean one causes the other. Think about it. Ice cream sales and drowning incidents both go up in the summer. Does eating ice cream cause drowning? Of course not. There's a third factor, hot weather, at play. You always have to remember that distinction. So, correlation is fantastic for spotting those relationships. But what if we want to take it a step further? What if we want to actually start making predictions based on what we found? Well, that's where our second tool, regression, comes into play. Regression analysis is basically a forecasting tool. It helps us understand which factors, which ingredients are the strongest predictors of a certain result. This is where we can really start to answer those tough questions about what might lead to better outcomes for the people we serve. Now, regression comes in a couple of different flavors, and it all depends on what you're trying to predict. If your goal is to predict a number on a scale, like a job satisfaction score from 1 to 10, you're going to use what's called linear regression. But if you're trying to predict a simple yes or no answer, like will someone complete a program or not, that's a job for logistic regression. Here's a perfect example for linear regression. See that key word there, scores? We're trying to predict a value on a continuous scale. What parts of the work environment best predict how satisfied an employee is going to be? That's a linear regression question. And here's the other side of the coin for logistic regression. The magic word here is whether. The outcome isn't a score, it's a binary yes or no question. Will they or won't they? This is an incredibly powerful tool for understanding risk and predicting success factors. Okay, so we've got our two main tools in the toolkit, correlation for finding relationships and regression for predicting outcomes. Now let's bring it all home and talk about why this isn't just theory, why this is absolutely essential for the day-to-day mission of social work. I mean, this is really where the rubber meets the road. Understanding these ideas is the foundation of evidence-based practice. It helps you see if an intervention is actually working. It helps with everything from assessing what a community needs to building better programs from the ground up. And when you have to fight for policy changes or decide where to put your limited resources, this data is your proof. From planning treatment for one person to advocating for huge systemic changes, this is how data becomes action. And really, it all just comes down to this. These aren't just some abstract math problems. They are the methods that allow our entire field to move forward, to build on what actually works, and to make decisions that are systematically proven to improve people's lives. So the next time you pick up a research article, you're going to have the framework to actually understand what it's saying. You've got the tools. The only question left is, what patterns, what relationships, and what potential for change are you going to uncover?